What's going on, everybody? This is The Hype, episode 364. Cody with you. And if you're watching us, you might notice the couch is a little empty right now. That's because this week we have a special episode for you. Doug and I talked to Jesse Gibson, sports cards nonsense, one of our favorites to talk to in this hobby. And if you listen to their podcast a little earlier this week, you can look at this episode as sort of a companion piece. He had a great interview with Clay Rutledge talking about pop culture, nostalgia, and sports cards, all of that. We got into that as well, how our nostalgia fuels this hobby, plus with so many great pop culture releases this week, Star Wars and Allen and Ginter, we got into all of that as well. Music cards, and even a little bit, if you follow their amazing Facebook group, there was a little bit of drama in there. So a huge community they've built, and we talked a little bit about what happened and how everything got resolved, and a happy ending at the end of it. So we talked to Jesse here in just a moment. We hope you'll enjoy that conversation. But before we get to that, a little business to take care of. Of course, Mojobreak.com, Mojobreak Shop. We've got the newest releases. Already mentioned them. Topps Chrome, Star Wars Galaxy. We're ripping it early on Fanatics Live, and we've got breaks at Mojobreak.com. Allen and Ginter Baseball, ripping it right now, Mojobreak.com. And we're going to have breaks all weekend long and boxes available in shop. And a brand new venture. You might have already seen us promoting it. Mojobreak Plus. That is our new place for more breaks, for player auctions. And for this, what we can do with Mojobreak Plus, a little bit different than what you're used to on some of our other platforms. Player auctions, team auctions that can last up to a week. So you can start it on a Monday for a break that's going to happen Friday, and you have the whole week to auction those things. And it's happening right now. We're starting things off with a case break of Allen and Ginter Baseball player auctions, subject options, because auctions, I should say, because you've got celebrities in there as well, and non-baseball players, football players, basketball players. Those auctions are live right now. If you follow the link on our link tree, or you can put in an auction right now. The break happens this Friday. Mojobreak Plus. Keep an eye on that. Watch this space, as the kids say. Mojobreak Plus. Keep an eye out for it. And special deal for you this week for our viewers and listeners. Bowman 10. That's the promo code to use at mojobreakshop.com. We are going to limit it to 25 uses. We're doing a flash sale of 2024 Bowman Baseball hobby boxes. Bowman 10. You'll get 10% off. Already a great deal on 2024 Bowman Baseball. Check it out. mojobreakshop.com. Use that promo code. 10% off 2024 Bowman Baseball hobby boxes. All right, let's get right to it. Great conversation with Jesse Gibson. Sports cards nonsense. Doug and I had a chance to talk to him. Had a really fun conversation. Jesse's just one of the nicest, funniest dudes in this hobby. Always love talking to him. Here's our conversation. Happy to welcome longtime friend of the program. I think we can say that now. Longtime friend of the program. It's Jesse Gibson from Sports Card Nonsense. Jesse, what's going on, man?
Hello. Guys, can I just say this is an absolute pleasure. I couldn't be happier to be here. I'm so happy, in fact, if you'll indulge me for a moment, I created our own special theme song for this episode.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I come bearing gifts.
Is it Winnie the Pooh theme song? Or?
It's not Winnie the Pooh theme song, but it's very well. How about I'll let you decide. I'm just gonna play a few seconds, okay? How about that?
Right. Okay. I'm excited.
Oh, Jesse's on the podcast in California with Doug and Cody chatting about those cards today. Sporting on sport treasures like ancient gold so bright, but Dan couldn't make it. He's missing out tonight.
Oh my God.
How did you get that ready so fast?
You
you got a studio behind you?
Yeah.
Well, you guys asked like a week ago, so I've had a week. So that's 24 hours in each day. So times 7. So yeah, I mean, I just got it done like 30 minutes ago, but finally,
Yeah.
I mean,
Just
you're close
got
to
hot out
Nashville.
of
That
the
sounds like Brad Paisley. Did you get Brad Paisley to do that?
Yeah.
I'm in Nashville, baby. One of the perks. What can I say?
Exactly. You just go out on a street corner and you go, can you record me a hot track in about 30 minutes?
He's like, I'm Brad Paisley. Yes, I can.
Yeah,
Come on
I can
in.
do it. I got
Yeah.
nothing else going on. I'm not singing in the World Series right now.
That's
I can
what
do it.
happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. Thank you for welcoming to the show. I bet no one's ever done that when their first few words on a podcast.
No. We
yeah.
have to have a song next time we go on Sports Card Nonsense now. I mean, we got to raise the bar.
Yeah, we do actually. We really do.
Well, I was expecting it is a tit for tat situation. If I don't get a song back, then I'm sorry, the friendship's over.
I mean, this is one thing too. I think we've started to get a reputation in the hobby world of like, well, look, Mojobreak's coming with something. Like, what's the next song? What's the next spoof or whatever it may be? So we're cooking things up as well.
I may let you off the hook. I feel like you guys have definitely given me more gifts than I've given you. I feel like when we did the podcast with you guys at one of the nationals, I think you guys gave me like a box of Pop Century even and like some other swag. So maybe we'll just call it even right now. Maybe me slightly ahead, but like pretty much even. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of pop culture, how excited are you for Allen and Ginter this week?
Oh baby. I'm actually going to go pick up my case today. It's arrived over at Gio's place. He's in Italy right now, so I gotta go over there and grab it from the person who's house sitting. Hopefully,
life that guy has, huh?
Yeah. Don't even get me started. I'm over here eating dog food for dinner, and he's over there traveling Italy. But I just like the taste of dog food. That's a different story. But no, I'm gonna go get my Allen and Ginter and my Star Wars cases, which also comes out Friday. So I'm pumped for this week.
This is like the best week ever to be a pop culture collector, I feel like. Right?
Well,
this get much better.
We have had the pop culture, the non-sport community has been very blessed over the last couple months. We have had the surprise Marvel release and then the surprise additional Disney release, which there was rumors and rumblings here and there, and we knew we would get in the States in the new year, but did not realize that it was going to be coming out in the UK, and then we were going to get access to it. So yeah, it's to have that followed up now with Allen and Ginter in Star Wars. Absolutely, say a little thank you to the man upstairs, because I mean that's a gift.
Yeah, I mean, somehow you'll probably pull a bunch of superfractors, because I hear word on the street is that you're like the superfractor king now.
Listen, I told you beforehand that I am a humble person. I didn't need you to say that to everyone, but since you have said it, I mean, Top sent me an email, and yeah, it did say private, but I don't think that applied to podcasts, and it said loaded boxes are real only for you.
Yes.
That was the subject matter. And so yeah, that's kind of the thing. I get a superfractor, Winnie the Pooh 1/1, bam, and you think, oh, that's good. But then how about a Daredevil 1/1 face-off insert? It's 1 in 48,000 packs. Thank you. I mean, come on. Yeah, so it's.
I mean, after that Winnie the Pooh pull, I don't even know why anybody would break the chrome. It's like the product's dead.
Yeah. Just start burning your cases. Yeah, it's better as firewood at that point. Yeah. No, I honestly, it could not believe, because I'd never pulled a superfractor. I mean, you pull 1/1s in Pop Century, and every other card's a 1/1 sometimes, so it's not as big of a deal. But you pull something in a product like that, it was pretty darn exciting.
Definitely. Now, who's some of your favorite subjects on the non-sport, non-baseball list of Allen and Ginter?
So obviously, got to get my Topanga. 100%. I don't want to.
I think she's going to be among the most highly sought after, I feel.
Oh, for sure. Well, the tops now of her did very well. So the Topanga auto would definitely love. I have been on a big Survivor kick, so wouldn't mind a Probst in there, a little Jeff Probst signing. I honestly, can I be completely real?
Yes. Sure.
I wouldn't mind that Velociraptor. I want the Velociraptor fossil. Can I just say that the fossil cards are some of my biggest chases in that product? Because as a kid, I got a toy Velociraptor from my uncle, and with it came a little fossil. It's probably rock. Let's be real. It was probably a piece of rock, but it was a little, they said fossil that came with it, and I lost it over the years, and this would be my redemption story.
Now you mentioned Topanga. Were you like a Teen Beat guy growing up, or
Not a Teen Beat, no, but I was a TGIF guy.
Yeah.
I mean, step by step, day by day. I mean, I can sing all of them. In fact, I just found out that the guy who did the theme song for Step by Step also did Family Matters, and he
Yep.
did one other one,
Full House.
too. Full House, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that guy, if he's not a billionaire right now, he invested in like Enron or something, because he should be.
He needs an Otto and Ginter. I mean, that's the guy we should have.
Honestly,
in Ginter.
yes. We had that guy who was like the mud guy last year, who like he was the specialized in like the dirt you put on baseball. So if we can get him in Ginter, we should be able to get the king of TGIF theme songs.
I mean, that actually, it would be. I mean, yes. If we're, I did not know we had the mud guy in.
Yeah, I remember ripping it last year, and it was like literally, I think he was called the Mud Guy or the Mud Man or something like that.
That's a new chase.
Yeah,
Did
Mud
you?
Man.
Are you guys on social media? Have you heard of the Dirt Man? Do you know about that at all? Is that
Dirt
a thing?
Man?
Okay, never mind. Then I won't get into it.
Okay, yeah, is this gonna? Yeah, I don't know.
Heard of him.
Yeah.
I was going to mention though one of the other big chases, possibly, honestly, the biggest. So we have a guest on. His name's Mark Feinsand. He is
Sure.
a baseball guy. He's been on MLB Network. He does like news reporting and all that. He actually has a vote, Hall of Fame vote as well. He signed in this year's product, and there is a SCN 1 of 1 out there that he wrote.
Oh,
So
wow.
we put $1,000 bounty on it. So if anybody finds that puppy, come to myself or Mike, and you'll be handsomely rewarded. Notice
If we pull it, I think we're going to ask for 1,000 podcast appearances.
Yes, actually, yeah. We'll
Oh,
exchange it for that.
I said 1,000 doll hairs. So that's the equivalent of like 2 podcast appearances.
It's funny you mentioned. I just pulled that on my daughter the other day. I was like, if you clean this, I'll give you 100 doll hairs. And she's like, $100? And I'm like, yeah. And then I went and got one of her dolls. And I'm like, right here. Well, there's probably 1,000 on there.
Ripped all the hair off her head.
Yeah.
And she cried. Yeah.
Classic.
Oldest ads.
Oldest trick in the book.
Yep, definitely.
That's fun. Well, what is the deal with you guys? Are you guys excited about Allen and Ginter? Are you guys going to be ripping
Very.
a lot of it?
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's one of our staples that we've been doing for like 10 years now. I mean, feel like maybe even 15 years. So, it just kind of breaks the monotony of every, not that the baseball products are bad, but you just start seeing the same guys throughout the whole calendar year. And this gives you a whole nother like exciting element to not only like talk with your customers about these non-baseball guys, these dinosaur teeth, these musicians in here. So I think it's just like a great week of like content and conversation spurred around.
I couldn't agree more. In fact, so I wanted to talk about this a little bit more. So I just recorded the podcast like an hour ago, the Sports Cards Nonsense one. And then the guest that I had on today is so I could only get away with this while Mike's out of town because he would veto, I'm sure. His name is Dr. Clay Rutledge. He is a doctor in the psychology of nostalgia. And it's actually like, so I got the idea from the director of the Hobby documentary that we were in. He said they actually were going to try and get him in the documentary, but they ran out of time and budget. And he's always thought it would be a great for a podcast. So fast forward, I got him on today, and it was all about like how the demand and the factors and components that go into what makes collecting sports cards and non-sport cards appealing, and the nostalgia that is created from not only our past experiences, but others' past experiences as well. And also things that can kind of ruin that too. And so I say all that to say part of it is like that. One of the things I like so much about Allen and Ginter coming out is like, finally, we've been bombarded, even if it's sport or non-sport. There have been so many expensive products that it's like it's priced people out, and like they'll buy into a break and they won't hit anything. And it's just like, I spent all this money, I didn't get anything I wanted. It's like you're kind of like hurting the nostalgia factor that creates the motivation to buy cards. And so finally we have something cheap, and it doesn't matter if I don't hit. And even if I don't hit anything I want, I got a Westminster Dog Show card instead, or I got the Fossil card or whatever. So it's like, I find like this is like a good reset week, because that was one of the things we talked about too. It's like sometimes you just need like a little downtime to go back and remember why you enjoyed doing the thing in the beginning.
Now, was he a collector himself?
So he is not a collector of cards. He is a collector of like old like retro gaming. So he does like like Atari and that kind of thing. So but the ideas and science and research behind it all kind of applies to the same idea of collecting.
That's interesting. I definitely want to check out that
Yeah,
podcast.
definitely.
Because I feel like a lot of collectors have, I don't want to say are mostly introverts, but I think it's an introverted community. And
Yeah.
I would love to hear the perspective from like a psychologist on that, just to see, similarities in the way we think and do things,
My theory is you'll either absolutely love it or you'll absolutely hate the episode. It's different than anything we ever do, because like we're always talking about specific players and the sports and the cards, and it's like, you know what, we've talked about that a million times. I want to change it up and talk about like, why is it that we even care about this? Why is it that when people make the posts about like the little man on cardboard, that we actually resonate with that post, and we actually do care about the little man on the cardboard? What created that? So yeah, we kind of go in depth a lot of different areas, as well as like the business side of it too. I thought like the whole business of nostalgia is something important to talk about, and how that can be hurt, and also you can create some business from it. So yeah, you guys check it out. But that's not, it pales in comparison to what we're doing here, the main podcast, which is the three of us listening to homemade theme songs and talking about that.
And talking about TGIF things.
Exactly.
I'm really intrigued to hear it, because it's like, I think it even goes so beyond like our industry is just the general like influx of nostalgia in pop culture, in everything. I mean, everything, it's whether good or bad, it is like, oh, everything's a reboot of a reboot, or it's like, oh, it's or think of the South Park episode, the member berries and all that. Like, it is like so much more prevalent. I mean, maybe it's not, but it feels much more prevalent now in the zeitgeist than it was even 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Dude, yeah, 100%. We talked about that exact thing, especially how the COVID, how that kind of brought it on, and like the specifics of why. But it kind of goes into like how anxiety fuels our desire for something that we find comfort in going back and finding those nostalgic things that we enjoyed. But also there's other components to it too. We talk about like he's saying how like there's a lot of Gen Zers out there who are nostalgic for a time that they didn't even live through. Like they're nostalgic for, and he says a big part of nostalgia too is like the physical, the tactile, like being able to put your hands on it. So we talked about the comparison of that versus like the NFT markets and things like that. But yeah, it's all very interesting to see how we've seen a boom in the nostalgia that we are all demanding just in the last few years, and what that means maybe going forward.
And that was a good point, because I think somebody just put this out. I don't know if it was Brian Gray or somebody, but like 52 Mantle, how many people that were able to collect that are still around, right? Yeah. So it's all people after our age group or even younger that are like, the 52 Mantle is still the card. And then nobody watched Mickey play. Yeah. Nobody had a chance to get that 52 Mantle, but they still collect it. It still lives on, right? So
yeah, it's interesting how that, and it's interesting too to think like how we're creating nostalgia now with even ultra modern cards. It's like you can compare it to where it's like, oh, I see this piece of sports history. Like I want the Topps Now 50/50 card, because I don't want to miss out on like 20 years from now not being able to get my hands on that. Well, that's a bad example because there's a lot of those out there, but other cards out there of players where it's like, hey, this Wemby, that's why everyone's like chasing Wemby. It's because he could be the next Jordan or the biggest NBA player that has ever lived, and they don't want to miss out on the opportunity to have a piece of that history. So it's like future nostalgia that you're FOMOing for already.
And I think you brought up a good point, because we were really going through it with the Mercury Wemby, right? You talked about how it's, we've kind of gotten away from nostalgia, and how Ginter will bring back some of the nostalgia, because we were dealing with guys that were buying on Mercury Wemby that they needed the picture that night and to get it on eBay, and they needed overnight shipping. So at no point were they ever going to collect it.
Yep.
Right. And I would say that was 70 to 80% of the buyers for that product. And, you start to step back and you see these, lottery auctions for the Topps Now, and everybody just wants the triple auto. They're like, the only reason they're buying in is to cash out. And, we need to, that's fun and all to hit big and hit a jackpot. And that's, a reason why a lot of people do it. But, at the end of the day, collecting and building sets is the reason like why this hobby was around. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's where it's like when everything is priced out of your I guess your comfortable spending. And then not only that, it's like, oh, I'm just buying it anyways, just to flip it. It's like this really isn't like that is not what you would describe as a hobby. That's a business, and that's okay to have business and your hobbies mix, but there's a balance that starts to get off kilter when all you care about is like, I just need to hopefully like have luck on my side and hit this card, and then I can go flip it for 20 other packs that I can resell. And yeah, it's not a sustainable thing, I don't think.
no, and I mean we've seen guys in the past. It's like it's to a worse point where it's like I needed this card to pay my rents.
Yeah,
So then you
Can't
start
get
to go
that.
down that you start to spiral down, and it's just not healthy. But
Yeah.
getting back to like building, I mean that's how I started. I had 87 tops, 88 tops, 89 tops. There was no autos and relics back then. It was all about just getting every card, and trying to collect every card.
Yeah. Do you have any? Did you ever complete sets at all?
Back then, yeah, I did that. Haven't in a while, so I have some soul searching myself to find out what I want to
Yeah.
start building, because I haven't really found one that I've really like wanted to go all in on recently.
When I got into it first, my dad, and he collected as a kid, so he caught on. Like he for a couple of years, it was like either a Christmas present or a birthday present would be just the complete set of Topps baseball for that year, whatever the base set,
Mhm.
which I was like, yeah. So I always liked just having the full base set. I think I've got like 04, 05, and 06. I've got all three of those lying around somewhere, all those complete sets.
Now, those sets, let me ask you, as someone who has, because I've never been a set collector, even though I tried to when I was younger, and I didn't even remember trying to until I finally found my collection from, now this is like my young cards, they're all gone, but the ones like from early high school when I collected again in that period, I did find those, and I went through and saw like, oh, I was actually trying to collect the entire set here. I didn't even remember doing that. As someone who does have completed sets, does it matter to you if it's like not on display? Because I mean that can't be easy to display an entire set. I know a lot of guys go through a lot of trial and effort to get them out if they ever do want to put it on display. My thing is like, oh, I put in all this effort to collect all these cards. I want to be able to see them. I don't want to have to like go pull out a binder out of the back of the closet to go look at it.
I think for me, like it always kind of is like I like having those because of I know the fun that I had with my dad being like, "Hey, look what I've got," and maybe yeah. So it is kind of like having it stashed away for that day of like one day I'm gonna have a fun time going through all these with my kid
Okay.
and stuff. So now I have like I've got a son of my own and. He's not into this stuff yet, but like
Yeah.
we did go through. I think we got like it wasn't Cockawau, but it was like a set from overseas, a Disney set. It was like a Disney Pixar set, and got a box, ripped it open, not having no idea what was going to be in it. But the fun of it for me was then like I came back and went through it with him, and he was just like, "This is awesome. These are all my friends in
Yeah.
one box." That's what he was thinking. So
That's
that
cool.
to me is the fun of it, and I think it goes back to the roots of it of like having a connection with a parent, a friend, whatever, and the
Yeah.
collectability, the collecting side of things. I don't know. For me, like, and maybe it's gonna be different for different generations, but like that is the root of it. I think almost all the time is it's just having that. We go back to nostalgia once again,
Exactly.
nostalgic feelings of doing that, having these wonderful memories with family and friends.
Yeah, that's kind of what we discussed too, is like, hey, if you're going to have nostalgia, why are you having it? Like, are you having it because you were part of a historic moment? Like, maybe that is it. Like, some guys, like, they want the mantle card, even though they may have seen how well he played, or they may have not even been alive when he was playing. It doesn't really matter. They like the nostalgia of that. But then there's the other nostalgia of like the feeling that you get when you collect and do that thing because you did it with someone that you loved years ago. So
Sure.
yeah, I think that we've gotten to a very meta place in talking about cards, but it is still an important place to talk about, because it's like, hey, what can ruin that is if we overproduce the same cards way too many times, and then it's like, what part of collecting and part of being something being nostalgic is that it's not readily prevalent. I can't just go
Sure.
out and like easily find it, and if it's everywhere, then they have a name for it. It was called junk wax. Like that's kind of what junk wax. No one cares that at the end of the day, no one cares about the number of cards. They could have created 100 cards. If the community is too small for the amount of cards that you made, that's when it becomes a problem. And so junk wax is only a problem if the community is too small for the amount of cards that are getting put out there. Then it's a problem. So the number that gets made doesn't really matter. It's just how many people are out there to go after it and get it. Because if the community continues to grow, then hey, great. We're making a lot of cards, and it's really great that more people have access to it. But if everyone can get cards and then there's a ton left over too, it's like, the nostalgia part is not really being formed in a lot of the new collectors, because they're just like, oh, everybody's got it and I can go get it anytime I want it. So yeah, it's something to think about.
Yeah, and we were talking about that on the business side of things, is like, and maybe just specific to this time period that we're in, but I feel like a lot of like the big spenders that would buy cases for themselves, spend $100,000 on a 10 cases of whatever product at rip. Like, I feel like there's a lot less of that out there now. And it's more of the guys that are like $10, $20, $100 buyers here and there, which is probably more healthy. But I think we've gotten to the point where these guys that spend all this money and expecting at least 50% in return are seeing diminished to 5 to 10% returns on a lot of this stuff.
Yep.
And they realize that, hey, I can put my money in the stock market or Bitcoin or buy property or whatever with this extra money that I have, because I have a lot of it. And we're starting to see some of those guys go away. And that may be a good thing. Like I said, maybe we will get back to the roots and there'll be less stuff made over time. But, time will tell as these licenses get a little sticky too.
Yeah.
I know it's with football. We've seen a down year in football only because, you can't get Stroud in this. And, Jaden Daniels is not going to be in Panini, and neither is Caleb Williams, but you can get him in Topps, Ginter, but like people want the football cards. And it's like, there's a lot of separation of that because of these like license wars in a sense. So
what do you guys think about that? And at the end of the day, the licensing, to me, the issues that are happening now, do you think they affect what we will see in the market in the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years?
Ultimately, yes. I think that, and I know how businessmen work, you don't want to let your competitor have the license, but if I would almost think it would be better to be like, all right, Panini, you can have it for your 2 years, because you're going to keep collectors around for when the transition happens. I think there's a lot of like football and basketball collectors that have left, or they just go back to like the exquisites or the Topps Chromes from yesteryear and collect those and not collect new stuff, because it's just too difficult to do. You want a Wemby, airbrushed auto, you want the Prism Wemby, but you're not going to get the auto. Like, which one's the right one? It creates so much confusion where I think guys are just like, and then there's always that strike against unlicensed. Like, we thought Wemby would be, a 5 to 10K RPA, but at the end of the day, the collectors spoke and they don't like unlicensed. So it doesn't matter. It's the only rookie RPA out there. It's unlicensed and it's not cool. Yep. They don't like to go. Collectors don't like to tell their buddy, like, I got this, and then their buddy go, well, it's unlicensed. So it's like not even a cool talking point to bring it back to nostalgia. So,
which what sucks though is like, what could have made it cool is if you priced it at like half or maybe even less, and then made it much less available. So it's like, oh, it's an actual chase. Like, it's hard to get. I can't just go out to eBay and find tons of boxes for it, and maybe then it could like go up in value if it demand was there, or even if it didn't, at least it wouldn't be as like stigmatized because of the fact of, hey, you can like this or not, but if you like it, you better really like it, because you're not going to get the value back out of it because you paid maybe $10,000 for a box of it.
Yep, exactly.
I think I did see, actually, just before we went live, the 1 of 1, the Jordan logo.
Yeah, it was on collect, right?
Yeah, I think final sale was about $108,000.
Oh, wow.
So fourth highest for a Wemby. So,
but I think people were thinking it was like a $500,000
that's
card,
the thing,
right?
it still maybe went a little under the expectations of what people thought, and probably all the reasons we were just saying.
Yeah, man, that stinks. Well, I don't know if you guys. Okay, so I don't want to continue to dump on the card market, because I'm not trying to do that, but I do just want to point out, if you guys, how often do you talk about CT scanning? Is it a lot? Because I won't talk about it.
We brought it up multiple times.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Well, I don't want to like hit you over the head too many times with it, but I did just see, the guy who has kind of been the godfather of talking of CT scanning, that Nick from Boston Card Hunter, I think he posted a video over the weekend about like the Mercury product and how like if you're buying it, it's almost like guaranteed to have been scanned. Granted, I want to talk to Nick and be like, Nick, if you're going to be showing this stuff, like we need more proof, because I know that
Did you show a scan of the Mercury box, or
like he did show scans, and so it's like, okay, there is a scan of a thing, but it's like that doesn't really give me proof of like that everyone's doing it. It means that someone did it once, you know what I mean? So it's like I get like, you can't, maybe you don't have access to everything, but anyways, that being said, let's say it is or even partially true. He did also put up another video of like another business, another CT scanning separate from the first one that did it, and apparently there's multiple others out there. So it's like, oh, this is such a dirty, like it's as the Gen Zers and younger would say, ick. It's like it's such a ick of the hobby.
it is
To have like all these companies out there promoting, hey, get your packs and boxes scanned, and then if you don't like it, put it up on eBay and have some other sucker go and buy it, and then they'll send it into us and we'll get paid 20 times to scan the same box. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, think about it. You could buy 20. I mean, you'd have to have some deep pockets, but say you bought 20 of those Wemby boxes and you just found the one that had the $100,000 card, and then he sold the rest for a little. I mean, it's a profitable scheme, and it's scummy, and there's really no place for it. I mean,
Yep.
it's all about transparency. That's how this hobby grows, is being transparent. And if people are doing that, like, I don't know how they sleep at night, but everybody lives their life differently,
I guess, but yeah, I don't care for it myself. And I feel like it's only going to, if you are a fan of the hobby, I don't think promoting it, even like, I don't know. I hate to say like you can't talk about it, because I do think there needs to be some awareness, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. There's a fine line of like, hey, we're talking about it because it's newsworthy, to I'm almost promoting it, so
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the manufacturers should find a way. I mean, there's got to be something like, when you go get your mouth, they put that metal plate on you, right? There's got to be some kind of paper thin card they can put on top of some of these things.
That's the thing, is you hope that what this is doing is making the Paninis, the Topps, Upper Decks more diligent about how do we package these things, because it's just, I always try to frame it too, like when I hear about these things and I talk about it with friends or family that are not necessarily as invested in this or at all, and then tell them these things like, okay, so there's these things, so like CT scanners that you get when like you have an illness or something, or you go to the hospital, they're using these to scan cards and get huge hits. Like, I just have to say that to people to be like, to understand how insane all of this does sound. And like, if it
trust
sounds
me, when you started talking about cardboard, they already thought you were insane.
well, there's that. Yeah, if we take that into account, sure. But then that's why I do implore people, like, if you get caught in that bubble, talk to someone, just tell someone, like, here's what's happening and what some people are doing or being, allegedly doing. And that to me also says, like, it just, I can't imagine it keeps it will go on forever and ever. Like, they're gonna find a way to get around it, and it's icky enough, as we've said, that it's just like someone's gonna get caught at some point, right? You think?
Here's inevitably what I think is, like, you will either have like some simple thing that Fanatics or Panini or whoever else can put on their boxes and show like, hey, this shows if it's been scanned or not. There's that option. But the other option that here's what I keep seeing in the card world is we are moving much more from the casual hobby to a business. Like, everything is being privatized as much as possible, and it is becoming as much corporate and regular. They're leaning more towards information driven companies and the corporatizing of these companies. I have a feeling that what we're going to see with all of the cards that you're seeing at GameStop, that is going to essentially be your new local card shop, your new LCS in a lot of places, because they are basically setting them up to not only take in cards for grading and buy and sell, they're now selling wax and things. That is becoming a thing. And then what's going to happen too is, hey, you know how you can trust that you're getting cards? Well, you don't have to worry about a sticker because you're going to get them directly either from your GameStop or you're going to get them from the LCS or breaker that has direct licensing from Fanatics, and that's how you can guarantee. It's like, hey, I got it within the same day, and we did a vetting process with this LCS or this breaker, and they're not scanning any of their stuff, and that's how you know you didn't get anything. And then it's like, okay, so then I can't trust anything on eBay anymore. I can't trust anything on any other
Sure.
third-party reselling site. And then it's like, okay, so the community portion, the community aspect is going to be completely destroyed because now I have to get it from a corporate person in order to trust that I'm getting anything good.
That, and I always, go down, and I don't know if, I don't personally like this as a collector, but like, you look at ePack or you look at Arena Club, right? Arena Club now has like graded buybacks that you can literally buy and see what you get instantly. I was like, with Fanatics having collect now, I mean, how simple would it be? And like I said, it's just, this would kill a lot of sellers, but like you could buy Mercury online for 10 grand and it opens it up immediately. Yeah. And then you have the option to go right to collect to sell it, like with a click of a button, or you could request the tangible item to be shipped to you.
Yep.
I thought that would take off more, but like I said, me personally, I don't like it. I think you take the human element interaction out of it. You don't get to deal with your buddy at the card shop or your favorite breaker. You don't get to communicate with them. It's all kind of done at the private in your home on your phone. So I think that aspect sucks, but I wouldn't be surprised if they try it here and there with certain products to see if like, oh, hey, we don't even need to distribute this. We can just have it all opened online.
I like that. I honestly like the ePack idea and like what Courtyard IO does and stuff, like where they'll scan your graded card and then they'll take it and you can buy and sell the NFT version of it. And then whoever ends up with it, they can then redeem that for the actual card. Like it's a similar idea to all of these things. And it is actually, what's funny is the doctor that we had on the pod today, he said something very similar as far as like the younger generation, the Gen Zers, they want both. They actually they're not leaning toward, just wanting the physical, like the record, the vinyl record. They also want the MP3 to go with it. So it's like, this is very much what that community, that younger group of collectors seems to be leaning toward. But obviously we also know that the majority of the hobby, at least it seems, is made up of maybe older people or people that are not as
30 plus at least.
Yeah, exactly. That are not into the digital side of anything. So they would much rather have a physical and only physical. So I don't know if it's just like one of those, time will tell, or if that will take off more now and slowly builds, but I like it.
I mean, I think that's a testament to how big your guys' Facebook group is too, because of the demo, right? I mean, you guys have a massive Facebook group. I mean, I'm on there every day and I see something and it's like something new or something controversial or like, can I get an opinion on this? How do you guys manage all that? Is that like somebody's full-time job going through that Facebook group of your guys's?
Is this a joke?
No,
I can't tell.
No,
wait. Do you know what happened with the group?
I get a lot of I'm a member of the group, and I get a lot of news from your guys as like somebody random person posting or
sure,
and it's like
that's all
You
good.
built a very impressive community.
Yeah,
I know. I'm happy about all the things you're saying. My question though is, did you know what happened to the group?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay. So everything's fine now.
A little bit, yes. I think I needed to see that.
Okay. Well, everything's fine now. But about 2 weeks ago, a little less than 2 weeks ago, it got removed. We thought it could have been deleted completely, but it turns out it got suspended. So we were at like 247,000 members, and all of a sudden, like I think it was Saturday night or something, like we go to log in and it's gone. Like it won't let us in, and then we're seeing it's like, oh, Facebook suspended your group because of, it said like something about like soliciting fraud and or claiming to be a cult or something like that. It was like,
oh my God,
some kind of crazy, like, and what it came down, what's funny is it came down to a post that Mike had put up about like so Fanatics Live, you guys are on there, we're on there, and they were doing like some kind of big promotion of like, hey, if your channel beats out another channel with new followers, then
Yes.
we'll give
Yeah.
you like 10 grand or something.
Right.
Well, Mike made a post. He's like, well, if SCN gets the most followers, we're going to give 10 people $1,000. And so I was like, oh, cool. Well, we've done plenty of giveaways in Facebook before, but apparently when you get to like the size of the group that we are, and when you start talking about numbers that large, apparently the algorithm or AI or whatever it is starts paying a little closer attention. And they saw that. And if you're going to do a giveaway, fun fact on a Facebook group, there's apparently language and wording that you need to have in there, or else you can be taken down like they did for us. And so they suspended the group. And also, fun fact, if you didn't know this, once you get suspended, it is nearly impossible to find a real person to talk to about that.
Yep.
No, talk to
I
any
had
of these
my-
tech companies.
My personal Facebook got so I'm obviously an admin for the Mojobreak Facebook
Mhm.
page, and we have an ad account. You know, like if
Oh,
we
yeah.
want to pay $100 for an ad or $200, whatever you want to do, like, you know, we'd put like $50 here, there, $100 there to run an ad for a break or whatever.
Sure.
And somebody hacked my personal account and was spending $5,000 a day to sell shirts. So they were spending $5,000 to push people those shirts. So they suspended my account. It took me like 25 days to finally get a hold of somebody to reactivate my account. But it was like, and then they didn't even want to give us the money back. They were like, well, we need to talk to Doug. And they're like, well, Doug's been banned. So Dan's calling him as an admin. And, you know, yeah, long story short, it took me, I went to the point of creating a whole other Facebook for myself.
Yep.
And then I finally got it back 25 days later.
That's basically what we created a backup. There's now a Sports Cards Nonsense 2. I came up with that name. I don't like to brag. But we created a backup group just because it was like, well, we don't know if this is coming back. And because we filed a like appeal, and like I put in an appeal. They don't let you type anything out. They're just like, was it this option, or this option? And the last option was like other. The other two had no application at all. So I just put other, and it's like, oh, okay. 10 seconds later, your appeal has been denied.
Oh,
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, yeah. Why wouldn't it? Because I absolutely had no other option. So yeah. Long story short, we have a friend of the show who has a companion work associate who she is a nameless hero. She is the hero we needed. She is asked not to be named, but you may have met her yourself. She goes around to a lot of card shows. She helps with the national and stuff like that, but she just asked not to be named. But she helps with the back end of some of these Facebook deals as far as like advertising and things like that. So Facebook has got her into some special groups. I don't think they pay her or anything. It's just like, hey, you know, we know that you make money with
or something,
social media, yeah, and stuff like that. So it's like we take your opinion more seriously than we'll do others. So when you have an issue, you know, bring it here and we'll talk to you. So anyway, she took it upon herself to reach out and get us some help. And after 2 weeks, she got the group back, and it just came back as of late, I think, or Friday. So
see, I had no clue. So sorry if I brought up a nightmare.
Oh, I'm glad. Hey, I'm glad. That means
if it doesn't come up my algorithm, I'm thinking like, you know, I looked up too many Giant stuff that day, or you know, or top stuff. So then I start seeing stuff again, you know, and that's just how social media life works. But crazy. Absolutely. I'm glad you guys got it back, because that's a nightmare.
Well, and now that it's back, it's like it was like I think day of who is it, the collectibles guru, like posted something from the group, like him and like Coach Co, a lot of like online social media, they'll just take stuff from the group and we don't care. It's, I mean, hey, they typically tag us or do something to mention it, so we're fine with it. But it's like the day it came back, it's like there's a post already. It's like, oh, that does make me feel really good that we got the group back, because I'm just thinking like, oh, you know, people won't even notice, but it's like the moment the group's back, they're already like reusing it again. So it's like there is some inherent value of like having it there, because, you know, there's also going to be negatives. You know, one of the reasons why it was so hard to get back in the first place was they read some of the comments, and Facebook, any social media, where there's just a bunch of guys spreading their thoughts and opinions on a matter, even if it's just cards, inevitably can turn a little nasty. And The word that they used apparently when we were trying to get the account reinstated was after reading some of the comments was toxic. So they weren't wrong in some cases, but to answer your original question, our admins, we have like really like 3 main admins besides Mike and myself, and a couple other ones, and then we have some moderators under them. But they don't not only admin that group, they admin the non-sports cards nonsense group, which is now almost like 40,000 members strong, and then a couple of other little smaller groups. So it's like they do a lot of work, and we have now placed some stricter rules to kind of like weed out some of that stuff, because inevitably we want the community to feel like I can go here and share this or do this and not feel completely attacked. And we are also hearing back from them too, the community themselves, saying like, okay, well, hey, we understand that, and maybe you wouldn't be attacked if like we didn't approve a post where it says like hits in the comments after they buy a box, like they take a picture of a box and it's like hits in the comments, and then the people never show the hits, and then it's just people bad mouthing the poster to begin with
all the time.
Yeah,
it's like maybe the guy had a technology problem, but
it makes sense. Yeah,
I think that actually speaks to like getting it back. It goes back to a circle around about our nostalgia talk, right? So those guys thought they didn't have their group for like a week, and and then they're like, it's back, I love it. I'm going to be more active because I missed it for that week.
You're exactly right.
Yeah, it's like a kind of a blessing in disguise in a way. It probably wasn't at the time, but now it's like you kind of take something away, and then people like realize, oh, I really missed this, and now
I didn't know I cared about it. Well, the guy, this is like we didn't pay him, he didn't pay us, there's no money exchange. It's just like he's a good guy, but I feel like I'm about to promote him because I bought his book and it's sitting right next to me. It's like called Pass Forward, and I was like perusing it, and one of the sections that we talked about was like nostalgia connects you to groups, and that was like a big sticking point when it comes to nostalgia, is like, where can you go? Like, is there something set up? Is there a facility set up for you to go and be able to talk to people about this, to share with them the things that you love about it and the things that you want to change or you want to trade or whatever the case may be? So yeah, the group, inevitably, we never thought of it like that when we started it. We just thought it was a promotion for the podcast, has turned into one of those communities, which we're pretty proud of.
It's awesome.
I always love going to the national, and I'm sure you guys experience this on a bigger level because of the group. But like you see, well, at least with Facebook, you see the pictures, but like in chat, you see guys' names like John 56, and you know what John likes, and he has his opinions, and then you're like have this formation in your head of what he looks like, and then you see him, and you're like, that's you, like it's either usually completely off of what you pictured this guy to be. And that's the beauty of like, and then bringing everybody together to meet in person that like have been around, all the United States or wherever they're from, and getting them in that place and finally meeting in person is very cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having that experience a little bit for myself, because so you mentioned I hit that 1 of 1 Winnie the Pooh, which again, props to me, I'm great. But then I also, the very next break, very next case I opened, I hit the 1 of 1 Daredevil, and the guy who got the Winnie the Pooh, he drove down. He lived like in somewhere in Ohio. He drove 5 hours down the next morning and picked it up for me. Unfortunately, like, I was literally going like, we got timing wrong because he left early and then we forgot about the time change. So I didn't actually get a chance other than to just hand him the card, take a picture with him. I didn't get the chance to talk to him at all. But on the guy who hit the 1 of 1 Daredevil, he's flying down on Thursday. His name's Jeff. He's literally like in almost all of my breaks that I do, whether he's buying or not. He's just like, he's a fun guy and like really positive. And it's like, I have like something built up in my head, but I don't even know what he looks like. And we've talked on the phone, but I don't know anything about him. So he's going to fly down, and it just so happened he's flying down on Wednesday, which is the day where another guy from the Facebook group, he just moved to town, and he's like, hey, I love what you guys do. I'd love to grab lunch with you. And so I said, yeah. So it just so happens I'm meeting with 2 of these guys that I've literally never met before, but only communicated through Facebook and or break stuff, like these online communities, and finally get to put those names to faces. So that's I look forward to it.
That's awesome. And that's why I think like it's something we touched on earlier, where it's like the whole like taking is there that possibility of taking the whole human element out of it? This just tells me right here, no, that's never happening. Like,
sure,
the reason that you break, like, we're all breaking a lot of the same products and a lot of the same stuff, but like the reason we attach ourselves to, I like this breaker, I like this guy, I like this guy, is it's the personalities, it's the whatever else they're doing. Like just to be able to hang out and have a good time with these guys, like it is to me it's like 90% of it is you get to hang out with this community you've built and the breakers you like, the personalities you enjoy, and that to me just speaks to it right there.
I think like to that point, it's just like it just needs to be like that should be in advertisements and that should be pressed more. Like I think there's some fear probably from bigger companies. I think every time we say bigger companies in the hobby, everyone thinks of Fanatics, and they would have a responsibility here too. But I think multiple companies like Panini or anybody else who's claiming to be, a friend of the hobby and advocate should really like encourage people to look into the community side of this, because it is a benefit that most, like when we're pushing cards on new people, we don't talk about like the community side of it. And understandably so, there's probably a fear that someone's going to get made fun of for asking how much a card is worth, or like that they said they were shaking or something like that. So there's that. And so that's partially on the community themselves. But on the other hand, there's so many positive stories out there. Like, hey, this got me back in into a relationship with my son or with my dad, because we were collecting as kids. And then, we started looking for cards again, or, this is the memories that I cherish from childhood for this or that. And it's just like, man, there's so many really nice, caring, positive things that we hear from the messages that come through in the Facebook group. But it's also like that's the stuff that needs more attention, because you can advertise that card is a massive hit and it's the character that you love, and those are important things. Value and having IP that people care about, those are valuable things in the card hobby, but the community never seems to really get much notice.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why like there should be more events, there should be more trade nights, there should be more of these things that go on and really talked about. I think Fanatics and Topps has done more rip nights and stuff like that, which is great, but I think there's still a lot of room for growth in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, what else do you want to talk about?
Man, we've already went for 50 minutes.
I was going to say, my
like
God, yeah, we just went off right there. But you know what? Well, I was going to say the last thing I really wanted to ask you about is the TGIF set. What's in the TGIF set? What
show? There is a TGIF set out there.
Really?
Is there? Yeah, there is. It's older, but yeah.
Yeah. I'd imagine. Well, they need to bring back TGIF Chrome, basically.
I mean, I'm just saying, give it like 6 more months and Fanatics has a licensing guarantee.
I need a Corey Matthews super factor is what I need.
Oh, dude.
And Urkel, an Urkel.
Thank you. Give me the Urkel with Stefan Urkel, like the Urkel with the Urkel, like side by side.
Yeah, dual auto.
Golly, yeah. You talk about $1 billion card right there.
Yeah.
Or what about John Stamos? I know Bob's left us, but Bob Saget and
I mean,
who's the other guy?
Dave Coulier.
Dave Coulier.
That would have been a big one.
Did you know Dave Coulier did voiceover work for Richard Pryor on one of his movies? Because he does such a good Richard Pryor impression that they used him on voiceover work, because Richard wouldn't come in and reread lines for re-recording. That's a fun fact for you. That's a feather in your cap.
Did you know that the song "You Ought to Know" by Alanis Morissette was about Dave Coulier?
Of course.
That I think I heard, but I don't think I would have ever remembered until you told me again. Thank you.
That album is
because they broke up.
Yeah. So
I can't wait for more music and celebrity related card stuff, guys. I can't. Who knows what's real and what's not? I keep getting little whiffs, little hints of like not just like a Leaf product, not just like I know CSG or somebody is putting out a similar thing too, but like something licensed from Fanatics, which is, again, if you care about both collecting and card value, it seems like that's the one that most people go to. There's rumors of them putting out more stuff, not just Disney and not just Star Wars related in the next year or so.
Well, we know we're getting the Garbage Pail Kids,
Green Day.
Yep. We know that. I believe that is pretty much confirmed.
I don't know if I heard that one. Yeah, that's awesome.
So, which is just like a perfect mashup of
yes.
It's the right product for Green Day sensibilities.
I heard a rumor, but I can't tell you about it. But I shouldn't have said anything. Never mind.
Ooh, I know. I was
God,
going to say
like,
that this
the
is
edge
an
of our
off-air
seats.
conversation.
Yeah, no. Oh, okay. We stopped recording. Okay, so let me tell you about this.
And I know the Rolling Stone Prism is also on deck, which if Dan was here, he'd be like, nobody cares. That is not, no, like if you released that 30 years ago, maybe you'd have an audience. Now,
Yeah.
no, which I still would say. I think there's still enough out.
I
I've
don't know.
always imagined this stuff having like a utility to it. Like you could do a set where, you know, you pull a certain card, maybe you get an unreleased song and you're the only one in the world that has it. Or, you know, like Sabrina Carpenter's huge right now. I mean, maybe not amongst our generation, but you know, she's, you know, if she came out with a set where you could get like to meet her or get like to follow her on tour or go to one show or she, you know, all this stuff, you would have these younger kids or these 20-somethings that would probably be interested in getting it and collecting it and trying to get this experience. And I think you can do that with a lot. I mean, Jelly Roll is huge right now. And there's a lot of fans that would
A lot of
probably
people think I am Jelly Roll. Apparently, I posted some pictures of me and my card online, and people thought it was Jelly Roll. So, you know, I get it. I can tell you, there's a huge market for him.
Well, I think we just found out Halloween costume question mark.
If I get some face tats, I say indistinguishable.
Yeah.
They thought I was Luke Combs when I was out fishing on a boat with a trucker hat on, but when I stand up, I'm much taller. So that was the giveaway there.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah, Luke
if you're a fat singing celebrity, I'm your man. I'm just saying. I can fill in for any kind of stunt double you need. All right. But speaking of the music one, I would like to go back to the Rolling Stone. I kind of agree. I'm questioning the market for it. I hope there's a market. I will say I do want it to sell, but I'm questioning. What I would have loved is if you did that with like a number of bands and just put them all into like one product, you know, like that would have been really cool.
I think that would have been the better way to go about it to start. I get their thinking is Rolling Stones is still one of the most profitable in terms of merchandising bands. It's an iconic logo that even like, you know, it's the kids who wear the shirts today who like, I've never listened to any Metallica albums, but I'm wearing the shirt. Like there got to be a ton walking around with the lips and the, you know, and all that. So I get it from that perspective, but maybe it would have been better to kind of branch out a little bit, and then you can kind of have the data to say, oh well, so and so is selling really well on the secondary market, maybe we should do a full set of you know, whatever band.
I mean, look at those M&M gas trading cards. I heard they're going for like $1 grand on the auto or something. I mean, that shows that there is a market for this stuff. But the Rolling Stones, I think I almost picture like a Rolling Stones, and I know it's a different manufacturer, but like on a heritage card, like mixing like Prism that's only like 10 years old with a band that's like 60 years old is kind of a weird mashup to me.
I agree. And that's the thing. I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that smarter people than I came up with what they're going to do with that already. Maybe they already got feedback. Maybe they, you know, put out the printing and they're like, oh, well, there's not a big enough market to sell it. But if we were to couple it with, you know, a few other bands around the same time period, maybe we could get something going. And honestly, I think it comes down. I talked to Brian Gray about this at the National briefly. It's so much of it just comes down to licensing, right? It's just like, you know, they'd make a card of just about anything if they could make it affordable with the licensing component involved, right? And if that is the case, then it's like, well, it will probably sell. Like there's enough of a non-sport market out there to do it. From what I hear, it's like there are some of these, like Brian Gray was saying, like Madonna and Muhammad Ali, like he was talking about these licensings as being dirt cheap, like in the not too distant past, where you could just go out and buy that and make cards from them. And he has and did with Leaf for a long time. But it's like, okay, well, if that's the case, let's start like really thinking about this, because if you want to grow the hobby, there's a few ways to do it, right? You can either continue to sell to the people that are already in the hobby, the sports card collector who may not be as into it, but you can try and like, you know, wiggle your way in there, which is kind of what Alan Ginter is doing. It's like opening them up to an idea of collecting besides sports. Or you can go after like a totally new market altogether, which is the music lover, the guy who loves that band and or the actor or the singer that's involved with it and would love an autograph to go along with it. Hey, well, guess what? I've got it in a package for you, and there's a treasure hunt component in it, because if you don't get the auto, you can get maybe a numbered card, which would still hold value for you. There's all kinds of ways to skin that cat, but I do think you have to at least start making something in order for there to even be a test drive, right? So I say kudos for them doing it, even though I don't know how well it'll sell.
Yeah, and I think some of the newer, like I was talking to somebody about this, like album covers are owned by the record labels. So if you're gonna make a set with multiple people, you have to have like all Sony artists or all Arista or all Warner Brothers, like where they won't
Which
want to
is
be in the
tough.
same set as other people.
Right. And that's tough because I think like at least you can do that with like the Disney and the Warner Brothers stuff, because I think there is even Warner Brothers a little like some people are like, oh, that's under Warner Brothers, but there is at least some brand awareness with those. Whereas like, yeah, like if you did like, here's all of the artists on Interscope Records, it's like, all right, like that's like it would be quite a mixed bag. It'd be some cool names in there, but there'd be like, well, I'm trying to think of Interscope Records. Who would
Dr. Dre,
right?
Theo Neaters.
Yeah.
They do a song called "That Thing You Do." It was really good. I think they were on
as in the movie That Thing You Do is a
no. We're talking about something else. I'm talking about
That Thing
Tom
You
Hanks. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking of the Tom Hanks movie. Also a great song.
I always envisioned it like you could have 80s, 90s, too. You could have these sets that encompass the music era, because then you bring it back to the nostalgia of like, oh, I was in high school in the 80s. I want, Poison and Motley Crue. Like you have a set for them, then you have the 90s grunge with like Nirvana stuff. But I think, the red tape is getting all the art, whoever has the rights to it, to agree to be all in together. And that's the tough part.
This is the part where it's like, I miss Josh Luber being involved, because I do think that his thinking when it came to sneakers is probably more in line with what I want non-sport cards to be like, where it's like, I want there to be such a low amount of this product that it is like people lining up to get it, where it is like, hey, you want this there to be free press. How about all the guys taking pictures of the line that they just waited in at their local card shop or GameStop or Target to go and get this product, and then it was sold out right away? And it would make more sense anyways, because it's like these celebrities, they're not going to sign a ton of it. And if it's everywhere, if everyone can get it, I also don't know if I necessarily want to hold it long term. Like as a breaker, I'll rip it and give it out to the masses. But at the same time, to collect something that everybody has just seems less appealing to me. Like the fact that there's like all of these like Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox autos that I'm seeing these days on either cards or the hoverboards at like every national. It used to be like, oh, I only saw that from one guy, and now I feel like they're signing everywhere and everyone's got it. And it just goes back to the whole scarcity thing. And I feel like scarcity plays, to me at least, an even more important role in the non-sport world than in the sport world. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, I agree with you. You got to progressively. I mean, I don't know how well she's doing now, but when Kylie started her makeup line, it was like 100 and they sold out right away. And then it was like 200, they sold out right away. And that's how she built it up, and it was all through social media. I don't think she still is doing well with it, but it was one of those things that you kind of have to have that like short printed demand. You can't be like, oh, we're gonna make 10,000 cases the first run. I mean,
I don't know how it's doing recently, but I remember one of the set they were a Luber Zero Cool set that came out, I think it was earlier this year. One that had been long in development was the Dune movie set. And I remember looking at tops.com. I think they were going for about $50, like pretty affordable, and thought, oh, okay, I'll grab one of those. Thinking in my head, I'll be able to just grab one. And I think that's sold out in like an hour, if not less. And I don't know what the secondary market.
It was like $300 a box, wasn't it?
Right.
So crazy
it went way up for a bit. I don't know what it's like right now, but I feel like that's kind of in line with what we're thinking about with.
So I don't know the exact numbers. Maybe it was 500. Someone said 500 packs or something like that. I could be wrong. But so when that came out, this is exactly what I'm talking about, by the way. When that came out, I think it was cheap. I had maybe 50 or something like that.
It was really cheap.
On the secondary market, it was going for more. And I bought it from a guy who he was like, he knew from the podcast I was into that kind of thing. I was like, yeah, when it sold out too quick online, I couldn't get any of it. And he sold it to me, I think for like $200 or something. I was like, okay, yeah. I went ahead and bought it. And by the time I got it, and started looking back online, they were going for like upwards of $700, $800.
That's
I
crazy.
mean, they may still very well if you can even find it, but that's the point. Like it was so rare because every card was numbered and people were trying to collect either sets or at least get like one, like they were trying to get one numbered card of each of these characters. So it was that created the scarcity to rocket that thing into the stratosphere on a product that was like delayed and delayed. And it was, you wouldn't have think like Dune 2 coming out, even though it's a huge movie, would have that much of of fanfare. But the fact that they didn't put out a mass amount of it, and they kind of focus it to the hardcore collector, made it where it was actually valuable and wanting, like, people wanted to go after it. So again, I hope maybe that's what, and who knows, maybe that's what they do with the Rolling Stone thing. Because honestly, if you want to create like some kind of fanfare around the Rolling Stone thing, you gotta have some kind of press of like, oh, it's sold out in X amount of time, or there was only so many that the majority of people wanting it couldn't get their hands on it, and then you can go on to the next band after that and try and sell a little bit more of that.
That
one.
would be smart, but I feel like we're going to see blasters in Target. I feel
Right?
like
Exactly.
literally it's
That's
gonna
not
be-
Panini's
they're hoping
model
they
is
can
not
put it like
scarcity.
right next to the vinyl, and it's going to sell, or something.
Yeah,
Might be
I
the thought.
think you're
That's-
exactly right. Yeah.
And maybe they had to pay 10 million to make the license, and they need to make 30 million of product to make it worth it. I don't know the inner workings of that, but yeah, I mean, even a good point is V Friends Series 1. They only made 1,000 boxes of that, and that we actually got some, and I thought we were dumb for buying them at 1,000, and they're like $10,000, $5,000 now.
Oh, I've got ours, and I'm actually looking to move it. So yeah, I know what they're going for. I the problem is like I brought it to the National. I was like, oh, I'm gonna sell it because like there's all this V Friends fandom, and they had the booth and all that. But then everybody was selling them at the exact same time, and I was like, oh, I can't sell it now because everybody else is trying to. But then what was it, last week or something, they announced the whole V Friends Tops Chrome thing or whatever it is. So it's like, oh, well, maybe there is still some market to these. And I haven't looked since then. I need to go back. But yeah, that's what it comes down to me at least. It's like, hey, if there's a scarce enough product, it doesn't matter if it's like got a huge fan base or not, there will be collectors, both fans and non-fans, who will go after that product, whether it's because they actually like to collect it or because of the financial part. But either way, I consider it a win for that product.
Yeah, I've been definitely following. I bought a book from Gary Vee. He's got cartoons of the characters. He's got books of it. So he's definitely trying to grow it.
Yeah.
Will it stick? I think it's still early in the process to say, but they have a pretty big hardcore group early of the Series 1 and Series 2 that collect these cards. So
maybe I'm holding that box longer then. I don't know.
Possibly. There was only
Might not be a
1,000
bad
made.
idea.
I think we have one left too. I think we're holding on
When
to
the
it, so.
V Friends Netflix show,
Yes.
whenever, if and when that day happens, that's the day.
That is the day, honestly, because it's I don't know. Did you guys ever get one of those boxes? Because this was one of the boxes they sent to us when it was like for, I guess, like news people or promoters or something, because it came in a larger box with a floppy disk and a floppy disk drive, so you could plug the drive into a computer that had a USB, and then you could read the floppy disk, and it has like a shirt and a hat and all this stuff in there.
Cool.
It was like some kind of promoter, like, this was like early on when we were doing the podcast too, so they were jumping in to try and get promotion. But yeah, I'm like, all right, where's the audience for this puppy? Because it was not us at the time, and
I thought too.
Not
Yeah, we kind of were like, this guy literally just did some drawings on a card.
Well, you guys were much kinder than I was. When Gary Vee came and visited our shop, there was part of me was sweating bullets. Like, I sure hope he didn't listen to that episode.
Are you? Yeah, Cody, you know who I do the podcast with, though, right?
Absolutely.
You know that was the exact, like, when we did the interview
100%.
with him, not at this national, but the last one, we did an interview with him, and I was just like, he knows what we said because he even brought it up beforehand. I was just like, oh, cool. Okay. Well, that was Mike, and Mike's over here. I didn't say that, and I will accept you all day. Yeah, exactly. You know what all this reminds me of too? I just remembered back in, I think, 2014, Panini put out a country music product that had
Yes.
country music, like all kinds of artists. Like I think
Yeah, like
Miranda
Florida Georgia
Lambert
Line. Yeah.
and Carrie Underwood, I think were some of the bigger names in there. Gretchen Wilson, and I know this because I broke it within the last year or something. But that's what I want. Like I want. Why can't we do that again? All right.
That one I remember, and it might have been just timing because it was right before the boom, but I remember it was like $80 wholesale, and it was down to already like $30 wholesale. So,
Yeah,
it just didn't
cheap.
take. But yeah, I love that product. I remember and then I think there was some controversy with the Florida Georgia Line guy that didn't sign his cards. He used auto pen. It was during the DAC
wow.
auto pen scenario too.
Oh,
So maybe it swallowed up by that. But yeah, I mean, I think they should now after this, this boom that we had. I think it might be time to try it again.
well, I mean, I'm sure someone will. If it's not Panini, I'm hoping Fanatics does something. I would love to see something like actual license, but also, again, if they're listening, which they seem to be, I love that at least Fanatics seems to listen, that we do not overproduce it and that we make it like not another, $6,000 case of Marvel or, $6,000 case of Disney or whatever the case is, where it's like, it's too expensive for the average collector to get in.
Here's
Let
an
that
easy
be
one.
the third party.
40 club. I mean, and you make 160
right.
boxes,
The
40
Jay-Z,
times
yeah,
40.
sure.
You got all the people that went to the 40 club.
That, I mean,
That's an easy one.
right there. Right
Yeah.
there. We solved it.
Yep.
I like that.
Done.
All right.
Yeah.
Mike Rubin, you can go send my PayPal to. No, I'm just kidding.
Does Mike Rubin follow Mojobreak socials at all?
I think so.
Does he?
Maybe.
I think
He has to. I'm sure he does. You guys are like a Tops account, so he must. Whenever, like every once in a while, like we'll get like a blue check mark of him, or like Mahan will like something, and it's like, I hate that I get excited about that. Like I don't.
I know,
part
right?
of me where it's just like, all right, come on. They don't. There's probably like their assistant doing it anyway, but
it's
still.
that dopamine kick, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
I remember when we pulled that triple logo, man. Then Mike Trout immediately followed us.
Yes,
I was like,
that was
"Mike
a
Trout!"
big one. Where
What?
the night that triple logo man happened, I remember we were looking and we like it was, and it's like 12:30 at night on the West Coast. It's like Mike Trout just followed us. Mike Trout just followed us. Oh my god!
What?
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
That is. You didn't even have to pull his big league card to get him to follow you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Pay for it.
Yeah, which is funny because I think we put out a desperate social media video of like, hey, Mike, if you want to follow us, here's all you have to. And then like a month later, all we had to do was just pull a triple logo man of
Easy.
Just
Yeah,
a 1 in
easy.
a million chance, but hey, it
Do
worked
that
out.
again. It'll be easier. I'm
do
telling
it again, and then Shohei and Aaron Judge will follow us at the same exact time. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's
I need to go check. I think on Twitter/X, John Cena followed us, and I don't know if he still does, but the day he
it's like a weird
followed-
account, right? It's not really him.
Yeah,
well, it had a blue check mark though.
It is
but I don't
him.
know.
but I think he's got people handling his account because I do notice these like he will follow people in like bunches. And he does follow like 3 million people and has like 10 million followers.
I did
So,
notice that too. He followed a lot of
we were
other
like,
sports card guys.
Yeah. So like, oh, Cena's following people today. Okay, cool.
I was like, oh, for sure. That means he's about to like get into the hot. We're about to see a card come out of his or something like that. And
He's
then
also a part of that, like the early glory days of Twitter when like celebrities would just be like, I'm following 7 million people. Like I remember Jose Bautista of the Blue Jays. He had like 1 million followers and also followed 1 million people. Like if you followed him, he would follow you.
back when it was okay to follow other people on social media and you didn't look desperate for having like an equal amount of followers as you did followees. Yeah.
As I think we were always told, like, oh, the way you're going to gain followers is if you follow them right back, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Exactly. You follow them. Here's what you do. I've solved this one. This is what we did when we first started the Sports Cards Nonsense page in the Instagram. You go out and you follow everyone, and then when they follow you, you instantly unfollow them. Just cut them out right there.
I think we might have done that too.
We don't get time for that.
And you know what happens?
Got a
You get a,
timeline.
you get a bunch of followers that don't actually like any of your content, and then there's a lot of questions asked of like, what's wrong with your social media content? So we don't do that anymore, but it does work.
We were getting a bunch of bots like in a row, like just following us. We had like 50,000 followers. We had to get rid of like 20,000 because they were all fake.
What?
And we never even nobody paid for it or anything, but we learned like certain hashtags would attract like
Oh,
all these
really?
followers. Yeah. So then
What
we're
are
like,
the hashtags? I want to know.
well, now we've resorted to not
Hashtag
use hashtags.
robots.
Yeah, yeah.
Hashtag bot for follow. Yeah,
Follow for follow. Yep.
Follow for
Yep.
follow. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we just had to get rid of them, and it was like it was kind of like you said, it was like, but then I'll have 25,000 followers and not 50. Like, but what?
means they have to-
Who cares?
That
Like,
means your ratios are off, and that means you're going to have to unfollow some of the people
Right.
that you actually enjoy watching their content because it would look too bad. The desperate.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And
No,
we knew it right away, and then it was like, oh, if you have a segment of these bot followers, and then you're going to start going lower on the algorithm because your potential of the amount of people that like your stuff is not getting liked because they're not real, then you're going to actually start getting hidden.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, when we dug deep into it, and we have a younger social media guy who was like, dude, you guys got to get rid of these, because I didn't even know there was a tab you can go on, and this is how old I am, is like you go to followers and it'll say which ones are flagged for review, and those are the ones that are like questionable.
Oh, interesting. I don't even think I knew that.
Yeah.
Doug, tell me
Oh.
all your wisdom.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
I try to internets every once in a while.
Yeah.
You're the
We're
best.
trying
internets.
We're brushing up on it. Well,
Um,
hey, Jesse. Oh no, go ahead. If you're.
Oh, I was just gonna say Dan really missed out on a killer episode.
He
Best
did
one we
miss
ever
out on a killer one. I thought it was an awesome conversation. I'm glad we caught you when you just had a great conversation about nostalgia. I thought that was really fun to talk about that. So, man, we could talk for another hour, 2 hours, honestly. So it's always such a blast having you on the show.
Dude, I took so much Adderall today. I mean, I am good to go. I'm telling you. I was so
Yeah,
I
we're
took,
ready.
I took
Yeah.
the normal dose. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm a jokester. Okay, I am on Adderall, but I have ADHD. It's fine. Okay,
Right.
leave me alone.
I think I need some
The
too.
normal amount. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Jesse, thanks so much for coming. Real quick, where can everybody find you? The podcasts, all plug away.
Yeah. So farmersonly.com is where you go out and hang on. I forgot. I'm on the wrong podcast. Sports Cards Nonsense. Sports Cards Nonsense is where you can find me. The podcast, you can listen wherever you're listening to this podcast. The social medias, put in Sports Cards Nonsense. You'll find us there. If you want to follow your boy, Sports Boy, that's me. That's my nickname. You can follow The Sports Boy on Instagram and other social medias. And other than that, yeah, we break over on Fanatics Live. So come over and check that out too when you're not checking out Mojobreak as well. So
Yeah, I mean, and Jesse, he like wears Superman costumes for the photos,
Yeah.
and
The Buzz
gets dressed
Lightyear
gets dressed
outfit.
as the Hulk as well.
Right.
I mean, he puts a lot of effort into.
actually,
for
I
the
was
bump.
just sick that day and my shirt fell off. So that's why I was green. That was
Yeah.
different. But yeah, most of the time it is a costume.
I love it.
Thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it as always. Look forward to hopefully doing some more with you guys here soon.
Definitely, man.
Always.
We'll see you later.
See y'all.
Once again, thanks to Jesse for coming on to the show. Such a fun time always having him on. We could literally talk to him for like 3 hours, honestly. We almost did it. We looked at the clock and went, oh my God, we could just keep this conversation going forever and ever. But at some point, you got to end the episode. All good things must come to an end. And that's where we're at right now. Thanks for listening to The Hype, episode 364. Next week, the whole gang will be back. We'll be talking about all the latest releases. Maybe a Yankee comeback in the World Series? Question mark. Probably not. If you're listening to this, that already might be out of date. But, of course, make sure to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. Make sure to subscribe to Mojobreak Media on YouTube if you're watching this there, or if you're listening to this, make sure to subscribe because big things are coming. We've already got weekly box breaks over there, and we're bringing back the break room. Keep an eye out for that. We have some big guests lined up. It's going to be a lot of fun. The break room on Mojobreak Media. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube for live podcasts and much more. And, of course, Mojobreak.com. That's your home for the best breaks in the hobby. Mojobreak Shop as well. And Mojobreak Plus. Big things coming over there as well. Some exclusives that you can only get for being part of our Mojobreak Plus community. So make sure to check that out. Make sure to check out those player auctions of Allen and get your baseball that are going live right now. And until next week, we'll see you next time on The Hype.